Okay, it's fine because it's technical difficulties. Who haven't have any technical difficulties yet, huh? Okay, so now let's move right into our topic today. So today's topic will be anti-obesity SOP. So when we're talking about anti-obesity SOP, actually it's the same thing as the SOP we're using for the pandemic that we're facing. There's no secret and it's really straightforward. And we can practice this with 3 methods. It really depends on your calorie intake. So it's like a bank. If you intake more calorie, then you'll get fatter or bigger. And then if you have too little calorie, then you'll be super slim or super tiny. So actually, and also the second one is your metabolism in burning calorie. So through these 3 methods, we're able to have a anti-obesity SOP. So the first thing that we have to pay attention is to eat in moderation. So the second one is to consume a supplement like Trigen S, as it can increase your metabolism. And so we're able to burn the fat that's already stored within our body and use up our energy and also decrease the sugar absorption. We'll get into the details later. And so the third method is to exercise, as it can help us with our circulation and also build muscles. So when we have muscles, then our circulatory system would naturally become healthier. And so let me tell you, there's actually no secrets to this anti-obesity, to slimming down, to our weight management. Is the same thing as how the SOP that we are using for the pandemic. There's no secret to it. There's only hard work and determination. So now we're moving on to this question. So why should we understand carbohydrates? It is because when we want to lose weight, we know which food are naturally healthy, which food are oily and unhealthy, and then we have to avoid. However, there's this one aspect that a lot of people would misunderstood, which is carbohydrates, and thus they would cause them to make the wrong decisions in consuming their diet, resulting to no progress or little progress in their weight loss or weight management. So how well do you understand about carbohydrates? So now let's talk about it later. So there's this question: how can you eat all of the good delicacies while also losing weight? So this is something that we should take into consideration. So what foods have carbohydrates? Actually, there's a lot of food that includes carbohydrates. The first category includes starchy food that consists of rice, noodles, bread, biscuits, crackers, and oats. And there's also another group that people tend to forget are root vegetables. So what are root vegetables? They're vegetables that are planted in the soil. So like potatoes, sweet potatoes, or yam. So these food that are grown in the soil actually have carbohydrates. And furthermore, there's also fruit. And because fruits are sweet, that's why it also contains carbs. So whatever food that tastes sweet contains carbs. And furthermore, the last one is sugar, added sugar. So actually all types of sugar contains carbohydrates. So no matter what sugar, like white sugar, brown sugar, or molasses, or whether you tell me that the sugar is really expensive or has a lot of nutrition, as long as it is sugar, it has carbohydrates. So a lot of people will compare brown rice with white rice. So a lot of people will ask me, if I eat brown rice, can I eat more? This is actually really inaccurate, because as long as it's starchy food, the carbohydrates are the same. So brown rice and white rice, the carbohydrate levels are the same. However, the only difference is that they differ in the amounts of fiber. So in whole grains or brown rice, the fiber amounts are higher than the white rice, because because the white rice is processed and also refined. So there's not a lot of fiber in there. However, the carbohydrate amount is still the same as these two types of rice. So now I've talked so much. So you may ask if we're able to, if we can actually consume carbs or not. So can we eat carbohydrate? Actually, carbohydrates is something that our body needs in order to change it, in order to have energy for our body. So we actually need to consume carbohydrates. So, but the amount of carbohydrates that we put in our body needs to be balanced. So we cannot have too much of it or to have too little of it. So the foods that we consume carbs is also important to choose wisely, because foods that contain carbs doesn't merely contain carbs, like how fruits doesn't only have sugar, but also contains vitamins and antioxidants. So when we look at these foods, we cannot just look at it in one aspect, but to look at it as a whole. And I'm sure a lot of people try to diet and then they always get their weight back. Why is this so? It is because they're unable to they're unable to control, and they're unable to be aware of what foods to eat and what food to control. So actually the key point is to control the intake. And so we don't encourage people who are dieting or who are scared of getting fat to not eat anything. This is really unhealthy. So then living, there is actually no point anymore, because one of the pleasures that we get is to eat good food, right? So you can actually eat everything. However, you need to eat in moderation. So we need to control the amount. So once you're able to understand the concept of carbs and how we have to consume it in moderation, then you're able to control your weight management better. So remember that when I say one exchange, it means that it is 15 grams of carbohydrates, and it also gives you approximately 75 calories. You don't need to pay much attention to the 75 calories. Just remember that one exchange equals to 15 grams of carbohydrates. Okay, so now how much should I eat? For people with average body size, for people who are the average people, so for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, which is also known as our main meal, you can have 2 to 4 exchanges of carb food, which is 15 grams. So 15 grams times 2 is 30 grams of carbs per food, so per meal. So as for snacks, you can have 1 to 2 exchanges. It really depends on your body size and also your own body type on how much you should eat. Like 2 to 4 exchange is the range. So if you have average body size, then you may eat 3 meals, or some people will consume 5 meals, and some other people may consume 5 meals to not get as hungry. So some other people may consume 5 meals to not get as hungry as easily, but they will also control their food portions to moderation so that they don't over consume. So if you eat four servings for 1 meal, then you can probably split it off and then take the 2 servings and make it as another meal. So you can break it up like that, and that is how you're able to control your weight management or control your intake of carbohydrates. So over here, we'll first discuss on how 1 serving of grains would look like. So when we eat rice, 1 scoop or half a cup of rice equals to 1 serving. So some people will ask me, so how big is our cup? How big would be the spoon be? So actually, let me give you an example. So if you go out to restaurants and then you'll get a medium bowl of rice, right? Okay, so if you get the medium bowl of rice, that is 3 servings. And so 1 scoop will be 1 scoop will be 1 serving. So if you are trying to lose weight, right? So instead of eating the whole bowl, you'll eat half of the bowl. So if you eat half of the bowl, it'll be 1.5 servings, or about 2 servings. So actually, if you eat one fistful of rice is not too much. So one fistful of rice is actually just 2 servings, and you can actually consume. And for noodles, you can consume you can also consume 1/2 of a cup of noodles, or you can consume 1 fist of noodles. So that is just 1 serving. However, when you go out into the restaurants, when you consume the noodles, when you order the noodles, is of course not just 1 serving or 2 servings. It's way too much. They give a lot, right? And you will finish it. And that is way more than 4 servings. Okay, so now we'll move on to the third food, which is crackers. So these plain crackers. So if you consume 3 pieces of these oat crackers, it's already 1 serving. And then we'll move on to oatmeal. Oatmeal, okay, some people will say that I can eat oatmeal and then I'll become skinny. Actually, that is not true, because oatmeal consists of high amounts of carbohydrates within it. So actually, it can make you feel really full. And that is why 3 tablespoons of raw oat, it consists of one serving. And actually, why when people are losing weight, they would consume oatmeal, it is because it will make them feel fuller for a longer period of time. And that is why they would choose oatmeal over other carbs intake like rice or noodles. And actually, for each meal, and then also 1 slice of bread equals to 1 serving. So actually, you really need to know that each meal you need 2 to 4 servings. So you know how much you should eat, how much carbohydrates you should eat, like 1 piece of bread per meal or 2 pieces of bread per meal. So that's 2 servings of carbohydrates. So now let's move into the second group of into the second food of carbohydrates, which are starchy veggies and also fruits. So when we consume starchy food like potatoes or sweet potatoes or yam, so 1 small starchy vegetables is about 75 grams, which is equivalent to 1 serving. So when we consume like curry chicken, there's a lot of potatoes inside it, right? And it's soft and it's also yummy. So when you want to eat the potatoes, you probably have to cut off 1 serving of rice and replace it with potatoes. It is because all together in total, added together, you can only have 2 to 4 servings if you want to manage your weight. So for corn, half of a cob is 1 serving, and half of a cup is also 1 serving. So you can see which measurement that you want to go with. And then so for beans is 1/3 of the cup of the cooked beans is also equivalent to 1 serving. So for fruits, if it's 1 whole fruit, then like 1 whole medium fruit is equivalent to 1 serving. And for grapes, it's 8 pieces for 1 serving. So actually, when some people say that they're on a fruit diet, I will get really, I will have this reaction. Why? It's not because I'm saying that fruits are not good, but having too much fruits, it will cause an excessive intake of carbohydrates and sugar. So what we want is a balanced diet. And not just carbohydrates and also not just vitamins. So we need sugar, vitamins, we also need other components to make it whole and balanced. And that is why we need to eat rice and vegetables and also meat as well. So it's not possible to eat fruits only for your whole lives. Okay, so now let's move back onto the types of fruit. So what is 1 serving? So if you have to cut the fruits into slices, so when you go out to buy fruits, and then they'll cut into slices, right? So that 1 slice is actually 1 serving. So 1 slice of watermelon, banana, melon, or papaya. So actually for durian, you have to pay attention. Because durian has really high carbohydrates. So one seed is actually equivalent to one serving. So if you eat 2 or 3 seeds, then you're already consuming one whole scoop of rice. And I'm sure that a lot of people won't just consume 2 to 3 seeds, right? But you'll eat the whole durian up. So that is why during season, a lot of people will get diabetes because they will have too much carbohydrates and too much sugar within their body. So the bottom line is that every day for fruits, you cannot consume more than 1 to 2 servings of fruits. The vitamins and antioxidants your body needs can be extracted from these fruits, but you also need other nutrition, which can be extracted from green vegetables. So lastly, I want to tell everyone about added sugar. So no matter what type of sugar, brown or white sugar, 1 tablespoon is equivalent to 1 serving. So consuming 1 tablespoon of sugar is equivalent to consuming 1 piece of bread or half a cup of rice. So for honey, it is 2 tablespoons and it cannot be mounted high. It has to be at the same level as the sides of your spoon. So honey is still sugars, so don't think that honey has no sugar, and you have to eat that in moderation. And last but not least, I'm sure this is something that a lot of people will drink, like teh tarik or Milo or iced coffee. So actually, they would put condensed milk inside so that it tastes yummy, or they will put sugar. So actually, if you consume this, is actually 1 cup of this drink. It has 2 to 3 servings of carbohydrates. And if you go out, you don't just drink this drink, right? You don't just drink iced coffee. You'll also order a bottle of noodles. And then so remember that the bowl of noodles will also have way too much serving. So usually you can only eat 2 to 4 servings, but you're already eating to 6 to 8 servings. And that is why you can maybe share with your friends if you want to drink the drink, or eat only half of the noodles. So this is something that you guys must watch out. So this is how you're able to control your weight management, but also consume good food as well. So if you want to, you already know how to manage your diet and also the amount of carbohydrates that you put in your body, you can prevent accidentally inputting excessive amounts of calories. Or for others where they might have a huge misunderstanding of carbohydrates, then they won't eat anything. So actually that's not true. So after they weight loss, their weight will come back. So they'll have this yo-yo dieting situation there. So actually the reason why your weight will come back, it is because your understanding of food is insufficient. So I hope that everyone understands that what I've said just now, and to know how to manage your consumption of carbs and also consuming Trident S is able to make your weight management more easier and faster and better. So actually Trident S is able to help you get twice the result with half the effort. So why, you may ask? The main thing about Trident S is that it has 4 main actions it can help with. And Trident S is made with natural ingredients to help burn stored fat and block fat accumulation with just 4 actions, and it can help you from day to night. So now let's look at the very first action. So the first action is to boost the fat burning process by changing it into heat. Actually, our body is constantly producing heat, but through Trident S, it is able to make even more heat by boosting this process called thermogenesis. And so it is able to break down the fats faster and change it into heat. So it can help you lose weight through changing your fat into heat. Okay, so now let's move on to the second action, is that it boosts our metabolism through the brown adipoctide. So actually in our brown adipoctide is really special because the main function of it is to change our fat into energy, and into energy that we can use. So that is why if we're able to boost our metabolism inside the brown adipoctide, then you're able to help increase our energy which can result in boosting the fat burning process. Because when we need energy, we get energy from carbohydrates, right? That's the main reason why we have to consume carbohydrates, because we need energy. So that is why it is able to help with the fat burning process. So in action one, it can change fat into heat, while in action 2, it can help change fat into energy. Okay, so now let's move on to the third action. And so this third action, it focuses on the white adipoctype. And this actually happens during when we sleep. So we'll have this process called lipolysis that breaks down fat in the white adipoctyte. So what's the difference between the white adipoctyte and brown adipoctyte? So actually, brown adipoctyte could be burned off into energy. However, white adipoctyte cannot. So it just stores the energy within our body, and then it will accumulate within our body. So if we want to lose weight, we still need to disintegrate it. So action 3, it helps reduce the fat size of the fat cells within our white adipoctyte so we can look slimmer. So actually, because fat is really light, even though you might not see a difference in the weighing scale, however, you can see a really big change because fat is really light compared to our muscles. So you need to a better indicator on whether you have lost weight or not is to measure yourself, measure your waist circumference, measure your hip circumference. So if you consume Trigenest, it will be able to help increase the metabolism and also help break down the fat. So now let's move on to the fourth and final action, which is that it can block fat accumulation. So if we have too much glucose or carbs, then we'll retain it within our bodies, and which it will cause us to accumulate the fat. And so if we can prevent that if we can prevent absorption of carbohydrates, then we can prevent future absorption and also transformation of fat. So actually, Trigenest can inhibit the process of digesting excessive carbohydrates and move it into our body. So this excessive carbohydrates where we eat and then it goes into our stomach, it'll just bypass our body without providing extra calories or raising our blood sugar. So through these 4 actions, from day to night, it can help boost the heating and the energy mechanism in our body to burn fat. And also when we're eating, it can prevent the absorption of excessive carbohydrates. And then that is why we recommend everyone to consume Trigenest 15 to 30 minutes before consuming a meal. And so we're able to bypass excessive carbs and burn it off as fat when we sleep, and also boost our metabolism as a whole. So that is the benefits of Trigenest. Of course, you may say, wow, Trigenest is so great. It seems like it's just a magical product. So actually, Trigenest also has been through many tests to provide that it actually works. So from the first study, it shows how that the average weight loss was 3.18 kg and your waistline cut down by 5 centimeters and your hips reduced by 5.6 centimeters. And so in the second study, it shows that within 12 weeks, it reduced 9.7% of abdominal fat, and in 16 weeks, it reduced 63% of fat mass. So 9.7% focuses on the fat in our abdomen, our tummy, while the 63% comes from our whole body. So now let's move on to the third study. It proves that it can effectively increase our basal metabolic rate. So what is basal metabolic rate? It means that even if you don't do any exercises, within 16 weeks, it can increase the resting energy expenditure by an increase of 180 calories per day, even when you're not doing any exercises. So 180K calories is almost the same as 3/4 of a bowl of rice. And so the fourth study is that it can effectively reduce carbohydrates absorption and how